Morning. My name is Jim Robb, and I'm president of the National Training and Simulation Association, otherwise known as NTSA. So thanks for being with us today. So we're going to have an exciting 45 minutes or so with a lot of the key leaders for the ITSEC crowd. So for those of you who don't know NTSA, we're a nonprofit association dedicated to facilitating dialogue between government, industry, and academia on topics related to providing the best training and training systems for our warfighters and first responders. So we are very much dedicated to that mission, and everyone who's with me today is also dedicated to that mission. So we appreciate their being here. I think that our big deal is coming up. ITSEC, largest training and simulation conference in the world. It's something that we are coming back from in terms of COVID. Last year we had what I called about a 75% ITSEC, based on the fact that we lost a lot of folks that were internationals that couldn't travel, and the COVID thing was still lingering. So this year we're looking forward to a full up 2019, go for it. I think right now I would estimate we're probably going to have over 17,000 people at the conference center. And the team has put together just an incredible program, and the show floor sold out in September. So that's the first time that's ever happened. So everybody's all in, and they're coming in droves. Some of the new folks that we're going to see at ITSEC this year include a fairly significant contingent from the Office of Secretary of Defense, led by Deputy Secretary of Defense Baxter, who I talked to yesterday, and she's very excited about using ITSEC as a way of bringing out their objectives to reform training, actually the training infrastructure and international types of events. So she's really excited about it. I think that's great. Other areas where we're reaching out and that you'll see present at ITSEC this year are the Space Force. So we've invited a high-level person, individual, to talk a fireside chat with the Vice Chief of the Air Force at ITSEC in the opening ceremonies, and that'll be the first time that we've had a presence of the Space Force at ITSEC. Additionally, again, horizontally, we're starting to attract a lot of other agencies. So the Department of Homeland Security is sending a very high-level individual from science and technology to participate, and they're bringing like 30 some people down. So this will be the first time we've had a significant presence from DHS at the show. We have a very strong contingent of congressional members coming down, and with Bobby Scott leading that effort, and we're looking forward to discussing sort of the post-election perspectives. Unfortunately, Stephanie Murphy, she'll be there, but she decided not to run, so we'll see what happens after that. Other things that are going on, we have an incredible presence forecast by general and flag officers. The Navy's got two very high-powered flag panels, and the Air Force is a general officer panel, which is really looks great. And there's a lot of folks coming that not only technical, but they're just bringing a lot of high-level decision makers to the show. So I'm excited about that. Our next big thing committee, which is chartered to go out and find new technologies and essentially plot out the course for ITSEC 5 years from now, has a whole panel of events where there's sort of TED Talk like things, and those are always exciting, and they always stimulate a lot of discussion. So I think for you potential attendees here in the audience, I really ask you to go look through the online guides and plot plan your show, quote unquote, because it's so rich this year with 43 special events and 131 papers and 30 tutorials. There's just a lot out there, and we think you're going to want to see everything. You can't do that, but and we're going to record a lot. So with that, I'm going to introduce our panel, and then we'll just go around the rules of engagement today. They'll all have some time to talk about what's on their mind, and then we'll go through a little bit of a question and answer period at the end, and then you also have the opportunity to do some live questions in the chat if you so do that. We are going to focus on ITSEC today and not necessarily programmatics. We're not really looking to go too deep into any one thing. It's let's keep it kind of light and keep it pretty much focused on the end of the month. So let me introduce the panel. Really great. I appreciate their time. First of all, we got Colonel Matt T2 Ryan from the Air Force. He's a senior materiel leader for the simulators division. And in this role, he leads a team of 600 members and executes a $5.8 billion portfolio. He's responsible for developing, maintaining 70 or so simulators and training systems for 9 different commands. So a very significant job. He's fairly new to the job, and we appreciate him being here with us. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tim Bishop, who's a senior executive, and he's the Deputy Program Executive Officer for the Program Executive Officers for Simulation Training and Instrumentation, PEO STRI. He manages a portfolio of fielded systems with a current inventory of over 2.65 billion and 125 locations. They manage over 335,000 training devices in the U.S. and other foreign countries. So Tim's been with us for a couple of years, since 2019, and we appreciate his support. He's always there for us. Third panel member is Captain Dan Cavelli. He's the commanding officer of Naval Air Warfare Training Center, NTSA, and he's also the head of the Naval Support Facility there in Orlando. So he owns the turf, so to speak. NTSA is the principal center for modeling, simulation, and training systems technologies on the Navy side. The command provides training solutions and research for a wide spectrum of military programs, including aviation, surface, undersea, and other specialized requirements. Finally, we have Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Reynolds. He's the program manager for training systems, PM TRACIS, where he serves as the Marine Corps Command's Systems Command's executive agent assigned to manage acquisition lifecycle of Marine Corps ground training systems, devices, and training support. And we appreciate all of you being here today. So with that, I'm going to start our around the world here in terms of opening remarks. And I'd like to start out with Colonel Ryan. Thank you.
And thank you for hosting this webinar and the conference. I agree with you. Put together a great program. Got up with that a week or two ago. So a lot of great activities, huge number of industry partners who will be there to demonstrate their capabilities. A lot of great workshops. I know my team has submitted a handful of papers that will be there, and there were other great papers that have been presented with ideas for how we can do better as a community with our training capabilities. Just wanted to kind of highlight, as Admiral Robb alluded to, some of the high-level decision makers and senior leaders that you'll get to hear there. I have a fire fireside chat with the Vice Chief Staff of the Air Force, General Alvin, and also General Bratton from STARCOM from Space Force will be at the fireside chat with Admiral Robb moderating. So a great opportunity to hear from some very senior leaders within the department. And then we've also got a DoD senior leader panel. For that, the Air Force has Mr. Kevin Stamey, who's the Director of Information Dominance Capability Director within the acquisition staff for the Secretaries of the Air Force's staff. And we also have Dr. Lisa Costa, who's our Chief Technology and Innovation Officer from the Space Force. So again, another great opportunity to hear from some senior leaders acquisition chain who are looking at some of the challenges across our acquisition community and our technology S&T portfolios. And then we have the Department of the Air Force senior leader. So that'll be moderated by Mr. Schatz from the Studies and Analysis team, again on the Secretary staff. And a great lineup there. We've got Lieutenant General Moore, who is the Deputy Chief of Staff and Director for Plans and Programs. So, that determines how all the money flows and what programs get budgeted. So certainly expect he would, his thoughts and ideas would be of interest for the industry team. And then we have General Bratton again from STARCOM, who will be there. And we also have General Miller from the Air Force. So you'll have both of the two, senior leaders at the 2-star level for Air Force and Space Force training activities and initiatives. And then we'll also have Mr. Lawhead, who's the deputy for the requirements on the headquarters Air Force staff. So a great panel as well. And then we also have a panel that's kind of focused on technologies and innovation. And there you'll get to hear from the Management Center Commander, General Morris, and from the FRL Commander, General. And we also Mr. Hondo Gertz, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with, who served both in the Air Force and the Navy. And obviously has been someone who has been, a force to be reckoned with, if you will, from an acquisition and technology science modernization kind of push personality. We also have Ms. Badula from Beacon Global Strategies and Mr. Gates from Brightline Interactive. So another great lineup there with a mix of experiences and backgrounds. And then we're also going to have the Innovation Match Game again this year, which is run by the Sims team, to try and find folks who can tap into sitter type activities and maybe, kick off some technology push areas. And then you'll get a chance to hear from my team specifically with an acquisition update with regard to what we're looking forward to getting after from an Air Force perspective with regard to training capabilities and devices in the future. Over.
Okay, thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. We know you're going to have a great presence down there because you told me you're going to have several hundred folks come down from the simulators department. So that's terrific, and we certainly appreciate that. So we look forward to your Air Force Space year as a lead, and your first year there, you're gonna be in charge. So thanks for being there. So let me turn it now over to Tim Bishop from PEO Strive.
Hey, Admiral Robb, and all of the folks out there on the line and watching what we're this conversation. First off, sir, I want to say thank you, obviously, to NTSA. I mean, I think everybody on the line here, all of our service brothers here would agree that Orlando has a very unique capability here from a modeling simulation perspective. And I think what NTSA does in the putting on of the ITSEC is just the focal point of highlighting how important modeling simulation is to the Orlando area and how important it is to the services as well. So thanks to you, sir, and thanks to all of the partners here that are on the line today to chat. I'm going to try to make this brief as well so that we can get after some of the questions. I'll try to focus on just a couple things. I think most of the folks online here know that the Army has been going through a transition phase here, number one with its modernization priorities and its readiness priorities. And I think you'll see the Army of 2030 one that is soldier focused, agile, and wins together with our partners. Right? I think the message for us going forward is going to be that we are transforming organizationally. Most of your tracking, we've already done that in the realignment of a number of our program management offices, and also with the way we do contracting and the way we bring technology in. From an Army perspective, we're blessed to have our service partners here. We also have our S&T arm here with the STTC folks. We are also blessed to have an acquisition here with Mike Harris and his team co-located, and as part of the modernization efforts for the Army, I think most all are tracking as well. We have a cross-functional team here in synthetic training environment that is also co-located in our facilities directly with our PM synthetic environments as we move forward in meeting the Army's requirements. I think every single year, it's almost like and I'm an Alabama fan, so most of you don't know this. The Alabama-Auburn game gets closer and closer. The excitement builds to that day, and I think ITSEC is also one of those things that where you have that excitement builds, where we have an opportunity to get out and see folks. We have, as PEO here, an opportunity to get out and have conversations about technology that you're working on, also about capabilities and things that we need. I think what I'll do here this morning is just kind of give you an idea of some of the things we're going to have out on the floor for ITSEC, so that you can be thinking about taking a peek at that. We're going to have a number of our synthetic training environment capabilities out on the floor this time with our Squad Immersive Virtual Trainer. We're also going to have a number of our STLive activities. We've been doing a lot of STLive activity and getting after the 40% shortfall that we have on our training center. So you're going to see a lot of the mortars, mines, grenades. You'll see Stinger trainers. You're going to see RVCT, the Reconfigurable Virtual Collective Trainer for synthetic environment. I think we're going to have items in 2 or 3 locations. Persistent Cyber Training Environment is also going to be doing its Cyber Challenge again this year. Again, we were had a very successful thing with that last year at ITSEC, and I think you'll see that again this year. And I encourage everyone to get around, take a look, talk to our people. We're going to have folks there with the systems so that we can answer your questions as it moves through. Again, it's just a great opportunity for everybody to have that collaboration across the EDU, across the education side, across our industrial partner side at this magnificent event. So I also get a question a lot on what it is I'm going to be looking for when I take to the floor and converse with the folks at ITSEC this year. And so I'm just going to highlight just a few of those things. I think most of you are tracking, the artificial intelligence, machine and deep learning. Those are intelligent tutoring, as an example. Those are things that we'll be trying to look for and see where industry has taken us. Human performance, just like Stuckey and his folks, human performance is critical from our perspective in soldier and how we represent that in our models and simulations to be soldier specific. Cyber, PEO Stri does about $800 million a year out of its portfolio focused on cyber. So cyber is obviously one of those things that we will continuously be looking for as we hit the floor at ITSEC this year. Embedded training is another area. High performance gaming, game engines, high fidelity terrain and train models, and then obviously our medical simulation, which will also, I think, have some capability on the floor this year for folks to take a look at. Admiral Robb, I think I just tried to hit the highlights here on, getting after what it is that we're going to have, what it is that we're going to be looking for. And again, I just want to say thank you all so much for what you all industry does in supporting this event. Admiral and your team, all the guys and gals that make this what it is, the unsung heroes. I see those in your AARs. I see those in your planning meetings. I just want to say a super thanks. And on behalf of Ms. Saunders, the PEO here, and myself, we are really looking forward to ITSEC hitting the floor. And please don't hesitate to let us know if you want us to drop by your booth. Ms. Deb Dawson is taking care of making sure that we do what we call our speed dating for ITSEC, where we take an opportunity to see as many of the capabilities that you all are presenting as our industry partners, because we couldn't do this without you. Admiral Robb, I'll turn it back over to you. Over.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Very great, good rundown, and we appreciate it. I think the Army is always a great supporter of ITSEC, and we do it for you. So it's your show, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of it as well. So let me turn it now over to Captain Cavelli.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks, Admiral. I appreciate you and NTSA giving us the opportunity to share my thoughts with the ITSEC community. And I want to thank you and everyone on the team, Renee and Debbie, for all the work you do to make sure ITSEC is a resounding success. It is every year. Now, I'm not an Alabama fan, but I do have a degree from the University of Tennessee. I thought Tim might find that funny, but I'm really looking forward to ITSEC as well. So there's a lot to be excited about this year. I want to start with the theme, accelerating change by transforming training. That's aligned with NOC-TSD's collective vision, which is accelerating warfighter readiness through training solutions. All right, it's all about outpacing the adversary, and it's right in line. We have a great agenda. I agree with everything that the Colonel and Tim have said there. The only thing I'm disappointed about is I don't have enough time to go see it all. I wish I had more time to get out on the floor and see everything that's out there. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot to be excited about. Not the least is the Space Force is there, and that is great. What even gives it more significance is that it's the Air Force year. So I'm really excited that we're able to bring the Space Force in as part of the conference this year. And we also have some emphasis on the metaverse, which I think is big. There's multiple special events that are focusing on its intersections or applications with military training and ways that we can use that. Now, from a Navy perspective, we have over 15 flag officers coming. That's and 4 09, so 4 vice admirals are going to come, along with a dozen senior executive service members there. We have Admiral Morley. He's going to be on the senior leader panel there. He's the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research, Development, and Acquisition. He's the Principal Military Deputy there, and he's going to be there. And we also have 2 Navy flag panels. We had such a great turnout that we will have 2 flag panels. The first is going to be aviation focused. It's going to be led by the Air Boss, Vice Admiral Witzel. He's going to have 5 other flags with him, and they're going to talk about the Naval Aviation Enterprise, talk about the challenges they're facing today and their vision for the future, and what we in the training community can do to help them. Second, you're going to we have a panel headed up by the OPNAP Director for Resourcing, or N9, Vice Admiral Khan, the SWO Boss, Vice Admiral Kitchener. He's going to be on that panel as well. And we're going to have 4 other Navy flags from different operational domains there. And they're going to be talking about the CNO's call to action, which is get real, get better. We're going to discuss how to address the gaps between our performers, the high performers and the low performing teams. And how do we have to self-assess. They're going to talk about why that's so important and be critical about that and how we're going to correct and innovate and be better than the opposition. Now, we've also expanded our special events on the Navy side to have a second Navy program brief, and that's in addition to the Training System Program Manager panel there. And that is we're going to address things like Ready Relevant Learning, F-35 Program Office, talk about the Littoral Combat Ship, the new Constellation Frigate, and then the Navy's virtual training environment, which is the Naval Enterprise Tactical Training Network, or NETN, if you hear that being thrown around. And finally, we're going to do something new this year when it comes to contracting and making sure we can solve some hard problems. It seems that every year we see some great capability or technology out on the floor, and it can satisfy a requirement that we know about. But we don't have the ability to rapidly act, all right? So this year we're trying to do something different. We're going to put an OTA out, We actually released a call for white papers that it overlaps with ITSEC. Now, those interested don't necessarily have to attend ITSEC to take advantage of the opportunity, but this is going to give the Navy 3 big wins. First off, we can rapidly get capability to the fleet by using that OTA. Second, we have access to non-traditional performers because not everyone is in the main bailiwick of providing training solutions to the Navy. And then the third thing is we get to the ability to leverage ITSEC to the fullest. And I just want to reiterate that I'm so excited about ITSEC. The Navy is all in, and I want to thank everyone again for this opportunity to share my thoughts. And I can't wait to see everybody on the show floor. And I want to end with one last thing: Go Navy, beat Army.
All right. There's always a spirit, but thanks, Dan. That's a great rundown. I think that the Navy participation, is especially at the flag officer level. I'm really looking forward to the whole aviation enterprise is there. That's unusual, not happened in a long time, maybe never. And getting all the different warfighting groups in the same panel is really an accomplishment. So thanks to you and your staff for making that happen. I didn't make any phone calls. You guys did all the hard work. That's great. So let me see if Colonel Reynolds is up. We know we're having some technical issues. Can you hear me, Matt? Marcus?
Yeah, Admiral Robb, you got me. You hear me clear?
Yeah, I got you clear. So over to you for opening remarks.
Hey, first off, Admiral Robb, thank you so much for doing all the hard work you do to support this and your team at NTSA. Really looking forward to this year's event. It'll be my first one, so overly excited for that. For the group overall, if you look at the Marine Corps, right, we're full force right now, Force Design 2030. As the Commandant has done as our planning, and we're looking forward as the near-peer threats. Training is central to that. And so it's an exciting time to be down here at PM Traces as we start to get after the new and emerging technologies that are out there. Something else that's very exciting for everyone to know is the Force Design 2030 guidance for training education will be released later this fall. That will give you some more insight as well as where we're going as a Marine Corps for training and education. This year, we're doing a little bit different than in years of past, where we had just put out a booth and show, hey, these are the current efforts we're already well on the way. This year, we're having a larger participation from Training Education Command, TCOM, come down because they're our requirements generator. And we're basically going to be looking at all of our emerging efforts that we're trying to get after. So at our booth, we'll be looking at contracts that have not been awarded yet, efforts that we're still trying to get after, looking for the technology that we can help us get to that next step. So please visit our booth that we have set up, and we have a great representation there from not only PM Traces, but Training Education Command. We have the CGA Training Education Command will be down, General Imes. He'll be down for the 3-star panel, and also he'll be participating in the Indo-PACOM panel. And you should see me with them most of the time I'm down there during the week. Myself, I'll be participating in the wargaming panel. Please come out to that if you're interested, and I appreciate it. And I'll have my commanding officer, Brigadier General Walsh, will also be in attendance. This year's should be a very exciting year for the Marine Corps. We're going to have great representation, and we're standing by, looking forward to the engagement with industry to help us get after the technologies that we need to win the next one. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Admiral Robb, as we can get after some questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate it. I know we always have trouble with the technology going in and out of government facilities. So the fact that we got everybody here, it's like 2 days of work to make all this happen. So we appreciate that. So my first kind of question or topic for the group here is I'm writing an article for National Defense Magazine, and a lot of the emphasis right now, at least nationally or internationally, is on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. So my question to the group is what have you seen in terms of lessons learned, or obviously the training side of the Ukraine armed forces is vastly outperforming the Russians on the battlefield. So this highlights the need for training, in a macro sense, but it's also an opportunity for us who usually have a hard time finding advocates for training out, in reality. Here's a real concrete use case where training that occurred by the multinationals for the last 8 years in Ukraine actually had a demonstrated significant effect. What should have been, or potentially was going to be, a 4-day war is in its ninth month. So there's a lot of new technologies being used out there, but there's also a lot of different ways to communicate, a lot of different ways to find targeting, and the cell phone systems are still working, which surprises me. But have you, as a group, have you all seen any feedback from the fronts? That your forward commands, referencing different ways to train based on the conflict. I'll start with you, Tim. You got anything you can pull out there?
Yeah, sir. So I think the biggest thing that we have seen and what we're taking advantage of, right? I mean, we have with regard to any conflict and capability that people bring to bear. And I mean, I will even I know that's what's on the forefront of everyone's mind. But even when you look at the Azerbaijan piece as well, with the utilization that they have with UAS platforms, I think what you see most for the Army coming out of that is transformation of tactics onto the combat training centers, right? We're trying to take a look at what's happening in that theater. We're trying to utilize those lessons learned that the Ukrainians are facing, and how we train as well. I mean, UASs have been a gigantic part of our role. We got a directed requirement early on out of the Army with regard to UASs, and we have now fielded swarms at our CTCs with up to 50 UASs in a controlled by a single operator, as an example. Tactics with regard to electronic warfare, our signatures from our TOCs, Tactical Operations Centers, have really been a focus. So I think that the biggest thing from our perspective that I can really expand on, sir, here in this forum, is really looking at the tactics, techniques, procedures that are being deployed, and those overlaid back to our combat training centers and home stations. We are doing that. I mean, we just had the Army just recently up at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, held its CTC Commanders Conference. That's where we have home stations and the combat training center commanders all in, where we talk about these kind of things, the capabilities and things that are required. And I think it's important for us to also mention that our flexibilities as we have transformed our acquisition approaches over the past 3 years really have helped us get after immediate change at our combat training centers when we see these things. So that's probably about as deep as I can go. I will tell you again, lessons learned are every day. We have got capabilities that we have asked for specific feedback on, and we get that feedback. As soon as we get it, we try and deploy that and ensure that the richness of the training that we put at our combat centers, training centers, are representative of the capability that we see in these wartime environments. For Ukraine, for like Azerbaijan, again, we try and do that all the time. This is just one of those focal points where I think we're really being able to get some of the richness into our training and what our folks would see in an environment like this. Over.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Anybody else have a comment on this particular Okay. So we go to the second, my second topic, which is follow on to what we used to do, which was called Operation Blended Warrior, which was an integration event that we did for 4 years on the show floor, trying to show and figure out how to bring simulations together. Out of that 4 years was identified the requirement to have more persistent labs. And so a couple of years ago, the Navy set up its Tech Bridge labs there in Orlando, and the Army set up the technology integration facility. So, Captain Cavelli, can you give us an update on how that's going and whether, how to just give industry just a little bit of a brief couple of words about how they can get involved?
Sure, Admiral. I would be glad to do that. So the Tech Bridge, the Naval Active Sort of Tech Bridges, it's a network of networks, innovation hubs as we call them. What we're finding is that industry was outpacing the DoD in our research and development and ways to be innovative. So we need to get on board. We need to collaborate with industry. So up at ONR and now ASN RDA, they set up the Naval Acts and the Tech Bridges, so we could help provide a network of, like I said, a network of networks where we could look for hard problems and make sure solutions to those problems don't fall through the cracks. So it's really important because we're looking to solve those hard problems, to mature them, get the technology matured, and get them out to the hands of the warfighter. Now, how can industry help? They can participate in events at the Tech Grove and help where they can. We're also getting some funding from ONR to help solve hard problems, and there will be some announcements for whether they call them competitions or not, but looking for help with those hard problems. Over.
Okay, thank you. Tim, do you have any updates on the TIF and what's going on over there?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, I mean, we actually, from an Army perspective, sir, I would like to also again mention our STTC partners over here in this on this question, right? I mean, we have transition partnerships. We have technologies that's being looked at both in the technology integration facility from the CFT perspective. A lot of that is crosswalk between STTC and the CFT, and we are transitioning both information out of these facilities as well as technologies into the facilities. And synthetic training environment has been a recipient of technologies that has been provided directly from government S&T efforts in both of these locations directly into the product lines of our TSS, TMT, and RVCT pieces. We also are working obviously closely with CACT with regard to the STTC folks and in coordination with our technology integration facility. But we've got capabilities set up there. Software drops from our STIS go into that facility, which gives us the ability, to do some assessments of that software from a testing, evaluation, and performance perspective. And we've got other technologies that are looking to go in there now. I mean, many folks are tracking the STI test beds we have. We're also looking at establishing some capabilities with regard to AR, VR, MR, XR. Hopefully I hit all the consonants that go in front of R from a reality perspective inside the TIF 2. That's one of the things we're a bit excited about. We're working with Gary Frost and General Glazier over there on that side and trying to start looking at how, no kidding, that mixed reality can get after and augmented reality and virtual reality can get after live training capability, as well as training from maintenance perspective, not just in virtual environments like in flying helicopters, those kind of things, but in maintenance designs as well, where we don't want to take systems out of the field for initial training pieces. We can, or build specific simulators, we can use those technologies, and the technology integration facility is helping us set the stage for that. And in coordination with what Stuckey was just talking about in the tech growth piece. Having those two co-located in the same facility back to back also allows us the ability to see the technologies that all of industry is bringing in, and those technologies that are at that maturity level that we can bring over into the TIF, we transition it over, and we have the connectivity between those two facilities to allow us to do that. So great things, good things, and a lot of great capability that we're seeing, sir. Over.
Okay, thanks. Great update. So we're looking forward to Operation Blended Warrior 2.0 potentially coming out of this ITSEC current metaverse demo, because I'm finding a lot of companies that are interested in metaverse like ideas, and there's just a tremendous amount of commercial R&D being put into this sort of concept. So we've got Microsoft, NVIDIA, Unity games, as well as Brightline International with some physical kind of things, training that's going to happen on the floor. Excuse me. We're hopefully going to sort of create a virtual consortium like we did with Blended Warrior to bring the industry partners that are interested in this, what might be the next generation internet with 5G and cloud and all these other capabilities coming together to further develop the ideas and make sure that we identify the utility and what would be the military version of a metaverse. So we call it ITSEC Verse this year because we don't want to use anybody's name, but it's an exciting thing. We look forward to growing the thinking around this concept and how it's going. It's currently billions of dollars are being spent by some of the big tech companies on these concepts, and we're gonna see if there's a there. So with that, Colonel Ryan, we've had a lot of emphasis, at least at ITSEC, about next generation flight training. Can you give us sort of an update of how it's going there? I know pilot training next is going on, and you know, are you seeing a lot of utility? Are there legs to the small simulators that are being used?
Yeah, thanks, Admiral Robb. So we are seeing, I think, a growing interest from the MAGCOMs in having a concept of a family of training devices that span different fidelity levels and kind of having a focused training syllabi that says, hey, I need a device that really only needs to accomplish this. And then I could have a next level device that really only accomplishes this, and trying to see if we can maybe bend the cost curve a bit in our favor by doing that, rather than having, you know, lots of really big, expensive, exquisite devices, especially when you look at some of the technology opportunities today, you know, kind of with the extended reality that's been brought up here. You know, I think there's a lot of opportunity space to bend that cost curve and to have devices that are cheaper to procure, cheaper to maintain, much smaller footprint volumetrically in your facilities, which allows you to get more operators in and potentially do more interoperability training to where they're training with each other and across different MDSs. So I think a lot of opportunities in those areas. There's certainly, you know, related to your last question, we have the Innovation Cell Lab here that we just recently stood up here a few months ago, where we're interested in maybe seeing industry have an opportunity to come in and demonstrate some of those kinds of ideas and devices here on commercial networks, which allows us to, you know, circumvent some of the challenges we've had in the past to be able to see those demonstrations. So I think those are certainly areas that we're very interested in. And, you know, I think one of the things you're going to hear from a theme from us is also a lot of interest in the high-end advanced tactics and training, so Heat 2 kind of activity, right? You're going to hear us talk quite a bit about that. The Secretary is very, very focused on readiness to transition to a war footing with a peer adversary, right? And much of our infrastructure in the past has not really allowed us to get after that very high-end fight and a peer adversary. So you'll hear us talk quite a bit about that as well while we're at the conference in a few weeks. Over.
Yeah, there is a lot of emphasis on that. I think it's interesting over time, fighter pilots. So we hated to go to the simulator. Now you have to go if you really want to train the way you're going to fight. So it's very important. Y'all were putting a lot of effort into the SCARS program. Is that still ongoing? Is that part of the getting on a common infrastructure?
It is. It's very much ongoing. In fact, I would say we've kind of hit a point now where we're accelerating the fielding of the on-premise equipment, as we call it. We also, have another, I'd say, lab opportunity that we've worked with AFRL, where industry has an opportunity to come in and demonstrate and wring out some of the bugs as far as integrating with our SCARS equipment. And I also expect we've ramped up our interaction and engagement with industry on the development of those standards. And we expect to use SCARS or leverage SCARS in a synergistic relationship with regard to getting after a common synthetic environment, which is part of that high-end training that you just alluded to, there's a number of things that you cannot do anymore on an open air range, whether it's security related or just physics related. And not getting, having the space available to you. There's no way to go rehearse it and try it out and train to it other than in a synthetic environment. So, there's no way for us to give operators that firsthand experience before we send them into a conflict in any other environment or manner other than synthetic. So that is definitely a huge emphasis area for us. And SCARS is one of the ways that we believe we get there by getting after interoperability between not just legacy platforms and training devices, but as we're building new training devices, making sure we're building them with that in mind.
Okay, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. It's exciting stuff, and I think it's headed in the right direction. It took a long time to get the Navy and the Air Force fired up about some of this, but it's happening. We only got a couple of minutes left, so I'd like to go to Colonel Reynolds and just ask a question about the Marine Corps' emphasis on war gaming. I've seen you're setting up a war gaming kind of facility at Quantico, and we're gaming kind of people at ITSEC, and so we're always excited about anything that looks like a game and looks like it has use. Can you give us any updates on the Marine Corps and war gaming business?
Sure, Admiral Robb. The Warfighting Lab or Warfighting Center is run by Marine Corps Warfighting Lab, and we'll have representatives down here from the Marine Corps Warfighting Lab, and we'll be taking part of the panel, which that will be a great opportunity for everyone to get the latest and greatest. For us, as we're supporting here at PM Traces, a lot of our training systems will basically be going into that direction for the data, so that when we war game actual scenarios, we're actually using real data for that. So it makes it more realistic as we do it, and it makes it gives the Marine Corps a better understanding of what we can and can't do in real time. So hopefully everyone can attend that's interested in wargaming. We here at Traces are focused more on the warfighter right now for actually training and like force on force, and bring that into the live virtual constructive training environment as our increment one. And a very exciting time to be down here for that, to be able to see that happen. And as we start to bring basically all of our systems into that environment, just like everyone else here in the panel, we're all trying to get after that capability. As it goes into multi-domain operations, we all need to be able to train in an environment like that, because we're going to be operating that soon enough. Is that a good enough update for you, sir?
No, that's great. I appreciate it. It's modeling gaming is always exciting, and the use of games is important to us. So we're not only in education, but training itself. And there's we have a serious game showcase and challenge, the world's largest at ITSEC itself. So it's always fun to do. So with that, I'm going to just go around for any final comments you all may have, and then we'll wrap it up. So I'll start out with Colonel Ryan.
Thanks, Admiral Robb. Just thank you again to you and your team for putting on this event and giving us the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to meeting with our industry partners. My time will be fleeting on the floor, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting out on the floor and seeing some of the ideas that the team has. Technology areas, again, I already mentioned kind of the family of devices, which open up the opportunity, for how do we manage that and manage the interfaces between them, which it gets after SCARs, model-based systems engineering, and being able to make sure we understand how to manage across a family of devices, and then how do those family of devices come together and interoperate across different platforms, so you can have a joint fight. And then, data analytics type tools, learning management. How do we do that? There's a lot of training devices that spit out a ton of data, and in many cases, we're not leveraging all the data they provide. And as we move to very high-end advanced training in a synthetic or a digital training range, there's going to be a ton of data to be able to cull through, and I think understand trends and learn things that maybe the human eye wouldn't be able to pick up with regard to tactics and procedures and the way we would go about prosecuting a conflict with a peer adversary. And I'll just wrap up by saying, training and readiness in general has the Secretary's attention. His operational imperative number 7, we just kicked off here recently, taking a new look at that under a line of effort that's very focused on training activities. So I don't have all the answers of how that's going to play out just yet, but I can tell you that at the most senior levels in the Air Force, there's significant interest on training and on being ready to pivot to a war footing with a peer adversary, right? And we've seen how fast it can happen. Admiral Robb, spoke about Ukraine earlier, and being able to see the lessons there associated with, hey, you can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't know how to employ it, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good, right? So a lot of focus in the Air Force on training right now. So look forward to seeing everyone there. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. We look forward to your team coming down, and it's going to be great. So, Tim, do you have any closing comments?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you again. So, Admiral, again, thank you. Our service partners here on the line too. I want to thank all of our industry partners out there as well. I mean, you hear us say that, we truly mean. We couldn't do this without you. Again, we're super excited about coming into ITSEC directly after Thanksgiving. And with that said, I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. I know we're just early on in the month of November. But I may not get to see or talk with some of you before then. I hope the Thanksgiving holidays are great, and that we're all ready to do some exercise on the floor there at ITSEC. And lastly, sir, I just have to say, this is going to be specific to Stuckey here on this, but go Army, beat Navy. Over.
Okay, but the Air Force is going to beat everybody, so who knows? Okay, Dan, you got any final comments?
Yeah, thanks. Still laughing with Tim. It's hard when you go after Army. You always say go Navy, and there's no one respond after it. But Admiral, thanks for the opportunity. I want to thank you, the NTSA staff. I want to thank all the other leads and industry, because, as Tim said, we all do this together, and we couldn't do it without each other. Now, what we do is very important. You think about it; it's about readiness and proficiency, right? Readiness is people, platforms, and training. All right, that's where we come in, and the proficiency is just readiness and reps and sets, and that's where the colonel went with about having affordable trainers that are reliable, so we can get those reps and set. Now, I'm really excited about ITSEC. There's going to be great special events, great tech, going to help us solve the hard problems. And I also want to wish everyone a great holiday. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving, and I can't wait to see everyone on the show floor. Thanks. Over.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Marcus, you have any final closing arguments?
Yeah, sure. So for everybody that's out there in the audience that really wants to know what the Marine Corps is trying to get after and how you can assist us, and especially as it comes to training, I would ask you to go ahead and take a look at all the guidance that's been put out by the Commandant of the Marine Corps for Force Design 2030, and also look at the recently released 2022 National Defense Strategy. That will really tell you how we are focused on the near-peer fight and how we're going to get after it, especially talk about multi-domain operations. We got to be able to train that way, and what that does is we make our Marines more lethal. It causes our adversaries to redo the calculus of what they want to do. So if you looked at what we did, or not what we did, but what was done in Ukraine, that made everybody take a look again. It's like, hey, what are we really doing here? What's our ability to impose our will on our strategic interests? And that's what we're trying to do, obviously, in the Marine Corps, is make that calculus change so our near peers think twice about what they're about to try to do. Also, hey, it's the Marine Corps birthday month. All right, so invite anybody that's in the Orlando area to come to the Marine Corps Ball. This year we're celebrating our 247th birthday ball. We have a full week of events with a golf outing, the ball, a great guest speaker, Brigadier General Pasajian will be coming down as our guest speaker. And then on Thursday, November the 10th, we're going to have a SOS breakfast with Lieutenant General Monday, the 3rd, Sam Monday, recently retired. Again, thanks for everyone for dialing in. Really appreciate it. Look forward to engaging with everyone at ITSEC. Back to you, Admiral Robb.
Okay. All right. Well, the hour goes quickly, and we thank all of you for participating and the great insights. I think that we all are excited about ITSEC. So thanks for being there. For you that are still trying to find a room down there, it's getting hard. So you better make your reservations, because we already sold a room block out, and I think we're continuing to work on that. But like I said, we're anticipating over 17,000 people this year, and it's going to be just a fantastic event. So thanks to our team in the background and the tech people. And I'll say goodbye and thank everybody for being here. And we'll see you at ITSEC.